guys, and welcome back to the Coffee and Catch Up podcast with me, Megan McGrath, and with my co-host,
Evangelina / Zone. Hello.
So this is episode, I want to say 12.
11.
11? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought, yeah, maybe. You're probably right. I don't know. It's episode some number. And today we're going to be discussing, I don't really know. We were just shit talking before this. We were like, hey, let's continue this. We didn't come up with a title. Psychology, our thought processes. We think we might be crazy, stuff like that.
Our brains.
Our brains. And luckily for us, Zan studies brains. So
Yes, I'm a psychology student, although let it be known that I am an undergrad in psychology, which means I don't really know all that much, but I know a tiny bit more than the average person, just the teeniest tiny bit more.
She can tell me when I'm shit talking.
Yes, and you can tell me if I died hundreds and hundreds of years ago, what my bones are.
We were talking actually the other day, off topic. We were had a lecture the other day on the morphological traits for sex assessment. So like how you tell what sex someone was from their bones. And a lot of them are in the skull. So the entire Zoom call, like the teacher didn't mention we should do this. She was just going through the different like sex traits, and you could just see everyone on the Zoom call like poking all the different areas, like, am I a man's skull or a woman's skull? I think I might have a gender neutral skull because a lot of my markers feel like a number 3 on a 5-numbered scale.
I don't know what that means, but what would you say, just from looking at my big head without being able to actually see my skull? Do I have a man's skull, woman's skull?
See, it's hard to tell because most of your like facial features are from muscles and like, you know, skin depth and stuff. So you can't really tell. I mean, I think you've got it from your chin, because that's probably like the least amount of like extra stuff on top of your bone. Female, because you've got more of a like narrow pointed as opposed to like a wider squared off chin. So you look like you might have a female chin. Congratulations.
Thank you. I
don't know what that means for you, but
it means if I die in hundreds of years, people may be able to tell that I was in fact female.
You feel the back of your skull. There's like a bump, like right here at the back. Depending on how big that is, you're female or male as well as one of the other markers. Mine feels like it's in the middle though, so who knows. So
a gender neutral skull. I'm glad we know this. I'm glad science has gotten us here. I'm confused, but I'm glad we all learned something today.
Completely off topic.
Well, not completely. We said brains, and the brain resides in the skull. And actually, if we go back to the history of psychology, there was a load of shite called phrenology back in the day, if I'm saying that right. This guy, whose name I cannot remember because this was last semester, I used to know his name because I did like a course before this, but it's completely gone out of my head. He theorized that you could tell like people's personality traits and stuff by the bumps on their head. And this was like this became science for a while. It was like, yes, this is true. And then everyone went, no, this is a load of shite. But you know, it did tell us some things about psychology. So somewhat related. Kind of.
Yeah. I love that though. It's like, I don't remember because it was last semester, but that's like so true. Once you pass your assessments, you like purge all previous knowledge. It no longer resides. Memory file cannot be found.
I mean, look, I'm not good with names and dates, which is why I don't like history. This was from my history of psychology segment, which I was just like, okay, I just need to remember this to pass it. But if I ever actually need to know who did this thing, I can Google it.
So. Yeah, I'm like so bad with dates, and I'm bad with surnames, which is usually the thing you have to know, because like my brain like auto fills in the middle of the word. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I see the first and the last letter and then my brain fills in the middle, which is actually how like most people read anyway. But it's not helpful with surnames because surnames aren't like proper words, you know? So like it's filling in mistakes. But yeah, so I always have to triple check when I'm writing down my references that I've like written down a surname right and my brain just hasn't like made up 5 letters that go in the middle.
Yeah, no, I do that as well, especially when they're like, because a lot of them are names I've never seen before and I'm not even sure how to pronounce. So I'm like, did I put this in correctly? So,
Yeah, because that's the thing, like you don't often have to say the name out loud. So like it doesn't matter if your brain's filled in the word wrong.
well, before we actually talk about how we're crazy, Megan, what are you drinking today if you are drinking anything?
I'm drinking a maca that's been sitting on my warm coaster for hours, so it's not very warm anymore. It's kind of congealed at the bottom, but we're still drinking it.
Lovely. Earlier today, I did have, like not that long ago, maybe 2 hours ago, I had a hazelnut mocha cappuccino, but now I have tea with honey because my throat hurts. So I am babby and throat hurt. It's not COVID. Can we just get that out of the way right now? I do not have COVID. Nobody panic. I just have a sore throat. I'm very prone to sore throats. So
Fair. I have 2 COVID tests this week, and I have a dentist appointment for a filling. This week is fun.
why 2 COVID tests? Why do you need 2?
Because for the university needs us to have 2 before we can go in. Ooh. And they have to be 3 days apart. I think it's in case you just got COVID. Do you know what I mean? Like if you just got it and you take the first test, then it's going to come up negative because it hasn't had time to flow through your body. Yeah,
Okay.
I guess. So then you have to get another one 3 days later. But I don't know. They've mentioned that we might have to get a few. For anyone who doesn't know, I'm going back on campus the Monday this video comes out. So by the time this podcast episode comes out, I will have been on campus on Monday. Woo. But they've been saying like we have to get regular COVID tests, but they haven't said like what regular means yet. I'm hoping they do say it, but I'm also hoping that like they just put us on a schedule because I don't have to keep booking COVID tests myself because it seems kind of a hassle, and they only go up to 12 o'clock in the afternoon. So I have to wake. I somehow managed because I didn't check my own personal calendar when I booked these. I just booked because they were like, oh, you have to book it the closest to like when you're going to be on campus. So like I'm going in on the 15th, and the closest appointment I could get was the 12th, and then I had to get one 3 days before that, which was the 9th. So like I just booked them based on that. I didn't look at my calendar, and then when I looked at my calendar, I realized I booked them on days when I don't have anything on. Great, but I also booked them on days where I should have been sleeping in, and now I can't because I have to go get a COVID test. Great.
Not a great way to spend your day off, is it?
No. I suppose it doesn't matter because I had a 10 a.m. lecture today, and then I just rolled over and went back to sleep. So
I would love that. I haven't stopped working yet today. For anybody listening, for everybody listening, not anybody listening, for everybody listening, where I am, it's currently 9 o'clock, and I have not stopped my work day. I semi-count this as work, but it's not work. Like
yeah.
I put it in as like this is a scheduled activity that I need to do, but it's not working.
At least it's like the editing of it is working, but at least the production of it is just us chatting.
Yeah, which is fun, but it's still like a scheduled thing, which is what I mean.
Yeah, like it has to go on before a certain date or else it won't be edited on time and like all this other stuff.
And I spent the whole day like, God, I had 2 lectures. One of them was a tutorial actually, and it was absolutely useless, but I still went anyway. And I had to like record. I recorded 2 videos. I had to edit a video and get that ready. I had to make the thumbnail for that. I had to do some stuff for college. I had to go pick up our food. I had some other stuff I had to do. I had to wash my hair, which is like a whole thing in itself.
Fair. I love when like people say like, oh sorry, I can't come out today, I have to go wash my hair. Like legit, that's a thing. That is a thing. My hair takes forever to dry and I can't go out with wet hair. I just won't. I refuse to do it.
Although in very exciting news, these are the times we live in, and this is really showing my age that I'm very excited about this. I am buying a diffuser finally for my hair.
Ooh. I have one on my hair dryer, but I left my hair dryer at home because I usually wash my hair at night, so I don't blow dry it. I just let it dry while I'm like getting ready for bed and stuff. Um, but yeah, I don't know that mine's great though, because it came with the hair dryer. I always feel like attachments that come with the hair dryer are not great.
I mean, it might be fine. I don't know. But I found one that's on sale and I'm like, I'm gonna go get that. I think I'm going tomorrow. We should actually talk about the topic, but before we do that,
Oh,
I just
yeah.
want to say I'm giving everybody like a not a sneak peek, but a thing. I'm giving everybody a thing, insider info, and you as well. I was supposed to do this yesterday, but I got really tired and I had my period and I didn't want to. But I have hair dye currently for a new color.
I'm doing a new color this week too. It's on my list of things because I was going to do it last week, but then they were like, you're going back to the lab on the 15th. And I was like, okay, better hold off a week so it's nice and vibrant and new for all my classmates. Because I'm that cool girl with dyed hair.
What are you doing to it?
I'm doing, I don't know how to describe it. So did you see, you probably didn't, did you see when Brad Mondo did Charlie D'Amelia's hair?
Oh God,
It's
I
like
know I
brown
did.
on the top and like pink on the bottom. But
Yes.
it's like he like divided her hair in half from here
Mm-hmm.
down. So like she's almost got like those money pieces, but she's got like bits of brown going over them as well. So I want to do that, but because my hair is like entirely bleached, I want to do pink on top and orange on the bottom, so it kind of looks like a sunset, but like not ombre because my skin level is not that high.
Pretty. Oh, that's gonna be nice.
You actually inspired me because we were like pre-talking before a podcast once, and you were saying that your hair is orange in places, and I was like, "Oh, like a sunset," and you were like, "No, like a bad bleach job."
But
And I
you're
was
gonna
like,
do it like a
"Wait a
sunset.
minute, intentionally."
I love that. I'm gonna be doing because at first split second I was like, what if we picked the same colors to do and we're gonna have the but no, I'm doing split dye, so more on one side than the other because I have a side parting naturally, so it's gonna be half purple and half blue.
Ooh, cool. I
Yes.
love
I'm,
that.
I need to bleach it higher up obviously, but I'm not gonna do it all the way up because then your hair grows and it looks crappy. So I'm gonna do it like ombre-ish, but like really
Mm.
high up, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like if you intentionally like feather out the line, at least
Mhm.
it won't look as harsh as like just a pure root line.
Yes. Next podcast episode we'll have new hair.
Ooh, new hair. Yay.
Love that
You
for
can
us.
watch the podcast on YouTube at Coffee and Ketchup Podcast. If you guys are listening on other podcasting services, you can go watch us on YouTube next week and see our nice new hair, or the week after next, because we record every other week. You can see our nice new hair. You can
I'm
also
so
check them out
proud.
on our personal channels. You proud
Yes.
of me?
I'm so proud of you. That was amazing. That
Woo!
was beautiful. But you didn't say the personal channel names. She's Megan McGrath.
Oh yeah,
I'm Vangelina Scoff.
yeah.
Check us out. You know what we can do
Ooh,
for the because we keep
what?
saying this, and I think we've said this every podcast episode that we need to start posting to the podcast Instagram because
Yes.
neither of us think of it. We're both I think it's because we both are in control of it that neither of us think to do it because we're like, oh yeah, the other one has it. So
Yeah, I keep thinking because also like whenever you post anything on your personal Instagram, it pops up on my phone as like Angelina Scov has posted, and it comes up through the Coffee and Ketchup because Coffee and Ketchup follows us. So like it's sending us notifications that like, oh, someone you follow has uploaded and they haven't uploaded in a while or something like that. And I just keep thinking that means someone's liked a photo. Like, oh, it's doing fine. So I like don't check on it. I'm like misreading the thing. But it's so funny because whenever you post a picture, like all three of my accounts get the same notification.
you're
Like Angelina
welcome.
Scott has posted a photo for the first time in a while, and I'm like, did not need to tell me 3 times, but thanks.
Well, that just lets me know I don't post often enough that you're getting this for the first time in a while.
See, but
But
that's the thing. Like it seems to do that for almost everyone I follow.
well,
Like it's not. It doesn't. I don't know. I don't know what it counts as often. Like on my academic account, which is the one I post to weekly, I only post once a week. And I think Instagram counts that as you've posted irregularly or, like because they prefer you post every day kind of thing.
Oh,
Just
yeah,
whatever
I
they
get
want to
you.
do.
But what I was gonna say was we can do hair updates on the Coffee and Catch Up Instagram, which is at CACU podcast. Follow us there. Thank you. All the
It's the same on
plugging.
Twitter.
Oh, the same on Twitter, yes. Which we post on even less frequently.
I don't use Twitter, nor do I have the app, so also I forgot the password to the account.
Amazing. I have it somewhere. I'll send it to you. I
Because
deleted
because I
Twitter.
don't. Fair. I mean, that's why I don't have it downloaded. I just like have it as an open tab on my phone, so like I can go and check, but I don't get notifications on it. So like if I don't think to go and check it, I just don't check it. Also, I don't follow anyone who like bugs me.
Fair. No, I didn't delete Twitter. I deactivated Twitter. And actually, we can draw this into what the episode's supposed to be about. I deleted it for my mental health, deactivated temporarily. I have to like sign back in within 30 days or else it will be deleted permanently. So
I feel like Twitter is one of like the more toxic social media from like, you know, what I see of other people's stuff. Obviously I'm not on there enough to like for it to affect me, but I feel like at least on Instagram and like YouTube and all the other platforms, like they're set up for a reason. Like YouTube is set up for videos, Instagram's set up for photos, and sure occasionally there's like beef going on or something, but Twitter is literally just set up for people to say things. So I feel like, you know, it gets worse there than it does on other platforms. I don't know.
Yeah, no, Twitter is absolutely awful. And I don't know what it is. There's just such a toxic environment on there that everybody is just there geared up to fight. And like the thing is, my whole thing that I do on Twitter is I just shit post and like I have fun with that. But then people will take it really seriously. Like the most basic example I can think of is a little while ago, I tweeted something like, LMAO, imagine being straight, or something like that. Like very, very
I
hard.
thought that was funny.
Yeah. And then somebody was like really offended. They were like, oh my God, well, some of us are straight. I'm like, I'm so sorry for your loss, but like, what am I supposed to do with you being heterosexual? Like,
What am I supposed to do? You not being able to take a joke?
but she
Your
unfollowed
life
me.
must be terrible.
Yeah. No, but she unfollowed me and she's followed me for ages because I recognized her. I knew her. And she just unfollowed and she got really pissy with me. I was like, what the
But like, the thing is, someone who's been following you for a long time has got to know that you do shit post more often than you like serious post about things. So like, did they not know that that's what they were getting into when they like started following you ages ago?
I just think like if you're already having a bad day, Twitter is just a place for it to get worse or for your emotions to get heightened or for you to like take it out on somebody else. Like you know that song that I put out a while ago called Hate You?
Yeah.
People don't know this. I wrote that after a Twitter argument and actually like I didn't even write it. I had a day to myself. I was alone, so I just recorded some songs and then I took a break to check Twitter and I got in an argument with somebody because she said that asexuals weren't part of the LGBTQ plus thing, and we got into a whole thing and she was such a cunt that I got annoyed and I was like, fine, I'm gonna just make up a song on the spot about this stupid bitch, and thus art was born.
Well, thank you for writing a song on behalf of asexuals and the frustration you experience standing up for us.
Basically, yes. Like,
I love that.
yeah, I've never said that before. I don't know why I haven't told this story because it's kind of funny.
It's
But
hilarious.
like, Twitter is just so awful. And the thing is, I find myself like, again, if I'm already having a bad day, Twitter just makes it so much worse. And it always seems to be like when I'm struggling mentally, everybody else seems to be emotionally heightened too, and everybody just want to fight with me. So it's like, what do I do? And then also everybody's all political all the time, and I just don't want to talk politics.
Yeah.
My political views are like, let's just be nice to each other.
Yeah, so some days when I like scroll through Twitter, because I've already scrolled through everything else, and I like specifically just look out for like people's profile picture that I recognize. Because the thing about Twitter is like you end up with so much shit on your feed from other people because like someone liked this, someone retweeted this, someone this, and I'm like, can you not post literally everything that every single person I follow has in some way reacted to? Like, so and so stared at this post for 10 seconds longer than normal, so I'm going to show it to you. I'm like, Twitter, stop. I follow a very finite number of people for a reason. It's because your platform is too much. But yeah, when I'm scrolling through, like your profile picture and like one or two of my other friends, because they post regularly, so like I scroll through and I'm like, oh, okay, I've seen everything that, you know, I scroll through until I've like seen Zan's last post from the last time I scrolled through. I'm like, great, done with Twitter. Seen all Zan's posts, I'm fine now. Like, seen all so-and-so's posts, I'm good. Don't need to see any more.
I'm glad I can be your like line of where to stop scrolling, because doom scrolling is a thing, a term that has been coined, and it's not good for the mental health. Although like
It's also not good for a repetitive stress injury. My thumb was hurting so bad a while ago. I think it's from scrolling on Instagram.
oh no, that's terrible.
I'd start using my other thumb, which is not great because then I'm going to get it in both thumbs.
But like, see, I'm always really quick to defend things because there have been things on Twitter that have been good. Like, I'm involved with the whole mental health community on Twitter, albeit like I'm mostly involved with people in the DID community and stuff. But you know, I'm still involved with people, and then I've sort of not met, but like communicated with people who have BPD and stuff, and I found out a lot of useful tips and things about mental health. But also the platform itself hurt my brain, make big sad, no good.
Yeah, like that's fair because I follow a lot of archaeological stuff or like archaeology organizations or classical organizations on Twitter. So like one of the groups or one of the groups I follow is like early career archaeologists, and like their whole organization is to like promote help like people who are getting into archaeology as a career. So they post like jobs and PhDs and like different programs and stuff on there, and they like host things to help you, you know, with your career and things like that. So I'm like, they're one of the few ones that like purposely click into their account to make sure that I've read everything, because I'm not looking for a job at the moment, but it's still handy for me to know what skills I do need for like jobs that I would find interesting, or like what PhDs or like what research is going on. And it also gives me a bar for like, here's a dissertation that someone wrote, you know, or it gives me a bar for like what level I should be at to be in that kind of position or something like that. So like there are good things for like archaeology. Like I follow my professors on Twitter. They don't tweet about class, you know, they tweet about their own personal stuff, but it also helps humanize them. I'm less afraid to ask them questions now because I know that one of them really likes walking by this lake near her house and checking out the swans on the daily. So I'm like, you know, it makes them more approachable. So that stuff's like fine, but the rest of it's like sometimes I get so annoyed. Like when all that mother and baby home stuff was going on in Ireland, like my Twitter was full of it, and I was like, depressing. Like I have a high tolerance for like morbid content. This was reaching my tolerance level, and it wasn't the morbidity that was reaching my tolerance level, it was the government being an idiot that was reaching my tolerance level.
Yeah, no, that does happen as well whenever there's something difficult going on. It's really hard to deal with. I mean, I do have an academic Twitter, which I forget to use because I don't know how to use Twitter for academic purposes. I only know how to make dick jokes. So like,
yeah, I was thinking, I was like, should I set up a more professional Instagram? Because I don't, you know, I mostly just post like weird things that are going on in my day. Like that thing about me finding rats on the RSPCA website. Put that on my Twitter. It made me happy. Or like me literally soaking my pajama through watching WandaVision the other night. Put that up on my Twitter. But, you know, like I'm like, I know how to use Instagram for academic stuff. I don't know how to use Twitter for academic stuff.
If anybody knows, like hit us up, let us know,
Yeah.
please. Maybe we can figure this out together. We can have like a support group for people who want academic Twitters. But
we can follow each other.
I think we do. I'm pretty sure we do.
So. No, I mean everyone else.
Oh.
Other people help us.
I think with me and you, I'm pretty sure
skills.
we follow each other, Megan. On like
we
everything. Right.
You're one of the few people I go on Twitter to see, and now you've left me, abandoned me.
I'll be back. I just needed a break. It was getting too much for me. So I needed to remember that Twitter is not real. That was my main thing.
Yeah, it's not a good baseline for what humanity is like, because oftentimes it is the worst of humanity, or it's the worst of people on their bad days.
Yeah.
That's why I need to remind myself when I see awful things. I'm like, this is not this person on the daily. This is this person having a really bad day.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, I have a way to tie this in again. Look at me go. One thing that I found very useful on Twitter is that, I mean, okay, so I have a little bit of a following. Like, I don't have a massive Twitter, but I have enough of a following that I can like ask a question and people will answer it, and it's great. And the other day I was asking about, we're getting real deep into stuff I haven't actually even talked about to anybody really. I asked if people had a hard time getting diagnosed with autism, people who did have
I
it,
saw
because
that.
the whole stigma around
Yeah.
it that even healthcare professionals have. Because for the last year or so, I've been questioning whether I might actually be autistic instead of BPD or along with BPD. I know you can have them, they can be comorbid, but they can often be like
Misdiagnosed for the other.
yeah, like AFAB people can be diagnosed with BPD instead of autism because it's supposed to be presented. They think it's going to be presented the way it isn't like males and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Which is like the stereotypical thing. Not always, but usually. So I mean, it was good for that because a lot of people shared their stories of like, yeah, it was really difficult because I didn't, present the way they expected me to, or because I was an adult and they don't know how to assess adults and things like that. So,
see, that's a really stupid thing because they don't diagnose autism a lot in girls because girls learn from a younger age how to mimic behavior. So girls, I was watching a few documentaries on autism and stuff a while ago, and I remember them saying that girls learn how to mimic at a younger age, which means it's much more difficult to diagnose in girls because they learn how to cover it up a lot, like not consciously, they're just doing what they're taught to do by others kind of thing, but they unconsciously learn to cover it up at a much younger age than boys do, which means it becomes a lot more evident that boys have it before it does in girls. And then it isn't until they're older or that they start struggling with covering it up, like covering it up has become a hassle kind of thing, that they start to recognize that they have it. But by that point they're like in their late adolescence or early adulthood, or like even late adulthood, and they don't know how to assess for it at that point.
yeah, no, there's a lot of issues with that, and then other disorders as well. But I've read about that one a lot. That it's like just a huge issue with all of that. They're like, hey, so you're an adult now, so we don't know what to do with you, or you're female, we don't know what to do with you. And I think as well the reverse happens with BPD, where that men don't get diagnosed because the baseline of assessing it is how women present.
Yeah,
So
I remember seeing someone's story. I can't remember if it was on Twitter or Instagram or something, but someone who was non-binary was having an assessment for autism. So the assessor asked them, are we assessing like male or female? Because we have to assess one or the other. Like we don't have a baseline for non-binary assessments. And they were like, can you assess on both? And then at the end of it, I'll tell you what sex I was born as, and you can like take the results from there. So they just like filled out the answers on both sheets, because I think the questions are all the same. It's just like the calculation for the result is like slightly different or something like that. So they did it on both, and even the examiner was surprised to find out that they didn't pass as autistic on one, but they did on the other. Like if they were female, they weren't autistic. If they were male, they were definitely autistic. Like there was a huge separation between their results based on like whether they were assessed as a male or a female. And I was like, that is broken.
yeah, that's just
very broken. The brain doesn't operate on like, I am a man. You know what I mean? Like, if brains were male and female, then it would solve a lot of problems with, I don't know,
Yeah.
other things, but that's not how brains work.
Yeah, it's just so odd. Like, and what confuses me is with this and with a lot of other disorders or neurodivergencies. Is that the correct way to pluralize that? I don't know. That people like healthcare professionals have biases about it, and they're meant to be the healthcare professionals. And a lot of the time, what they think or the way they will assess people directly goes against the research that's being conducted. Like their views will be based on something that's 20 years old instead of what happened 5 years ago. It's like your
Yeah.
job is to keep up, keep up with what's
That's the
going on.
thing, like teachers have to be retrained. Well, not retrained, but they have to take at least, I think it's like 2 weeks of like courses in Ireland at least. They have to take like 2 weeks of courses to like retrain in certain areas every couple of years so that they're like up to date with the latest like information about teaching and about student welfare and like all of this stuff. And I'm like, why don't doctors have to do that? If they keep up to date with stuff, it's like a voluntary thing that they do. There's no like retraining of medical professionals or retraining of psychologists or psychotherapists. Like they just like, you either have one that keeps up to date or you have one who's like, I trained in the 50s and everything in the 50s was perfect. Y'all are too emotional these days.
Oh yeah, we all know the 50s is a great time, really good for everybody. Oh.
Especially for women.
Like, it's very odd. Like, I think I've talked about this before. Like I had so what you get from a therapist is very different depending on the type of therapist. Are they a psychologist? Are they a therapist? Are they a counselor? Are they a psychiatrist? Depending on who they are, their biases, what they've learned, what they've trained in, what they've specialized in. So, for example, one of the first therapists I went to was a counselor who said that she did not believe in mental illness. And that my boyfriend at the time, who you will remember, unfortunately, couldn't love me.
Lovely chap. Great guy. Highly recommend.
Really fantastic bloke there.
BFFs we were, me and him. BFFs.
Oh yeah, we're in contact still, you know, good friends. But yeah, she told me that he couldn't possibly love me because he had Asperger's. So it's like, no, there's plenty of other reasons why this relationship should not have been happening, not because of his Asperger's.
Yeah.
So.
Oh my God. I remember the first therapist I ever went to was like highly recommended, like child. I can't remember if she was like a psychologist or a therapist or I think she was a therapist, but because my parents arranged this. But she was like a child therapist. I was like 14 or 15 at the time. She was like old. I've got nothing against older individuals, but she had a very old way of thinking as well. Like the problem, I think the problem was when she said child psychiatrist, she literally meant like children. Like technically I classed as a child, but I feel like there should be a separate thing for like adolescent psychologists as opposed to child psychologists, because she had me like drawing pictures of like all this like really childish stuff that like you're supposed to give to people who can't properly communicate how they see their family dynamics. So it's like, okay, draw your family dynamic instead, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I did it once. I like drew I drew myself like separate from my family. Like she was like, you draw a bubble around your family kind of thing. So it was my mom, my dad, and my brother were like in their own little bubble. And I was like in my own little bubble. And like we were in a bubble together because we were like in the same house and we're in the same family. But like I felt that we were separated. And she was like, no, you can't see your family this way because they're your family. And I was like,
She sounds like
what?
a dumbass.
She was like, they're your family, you have to love them. And I'm like, first of all, not saying I don't love them, I'm saying I feel separate from them, which makes sense because, my parents are of a certain age. They're like a few generations, above me, which is not a problem, but obviously we've a few generational gaps as opposed to just one generational gap between us. So my childhoods and their childhoods, very different. You know, the things I'm growing up with versus the things, like the problems they grew up with, very different. So obviously they can't empathize with like certain things that I'm going through because they didn't go through it during their childhood or their teen years or, you know, whatever. Because they're very, you know, so obviously there's going to be a bit of a divide there. Like you can't say, no, your problem doesn't exist because you're a family. And also family has the ability to fuck you up more than anyone else. So like you can't just say you have to love them because they're your family. I'm like, sometimes family is the most toxic people in your life and you have to cut them out.
Yeah.
That's not my family, but you know, like what?
And also, like, she shouldn't be telling you how you're allowed to feel.
I know, like I went to a party with some friends. It was fourth year. You know, it's transition year. Everyone's like literally going out, you know, hanging out with friends and stuff because their grades don't matter. It's like a pass fail year and they pass everyone. So like, you know, we were all just like, whatever. I went out to a party with some friends and, you know, we had a couple of drinks, but we were in someone's house. We weren't like drunk. It was just like a nice, casual little house party. Do you know what I mean? Like completely regular, normal thing for 15-year-olds in my town, at least, to be doing. And I tell her, like, oh, I was at, you know, a party with some friends and I was feeling good because my problem at the time was like, I was having really bad, not depression episodes. My doctor thought I might have dysthymia, but they were like, you know, I was having like bad episodes sometimes where like I'd be surrounded by my friends, but I was just feeling like so disconnected and so like upset for no reason. And I was like, no, I had a good time. You know, I was feeling connected with everyone and, you know, I wasn't feeling like awkward or left out. Everything was fine. And she was like, were you drinking? I was like, yes. She was like, and I was like, fairly sure your number one thing is not to make your patients feel judged. I'm walking out and never paying you €60 an hour ever again.
Oh my God.
I just like stopped going because I was like, I can't tell this person anything because I feel like they're judging everything or telling me it doesn't exist.
Yeah,
My
no, it's
second
like breaking
therapist was
every
not
rule.
much better, but still.
Oh God. See, this is why I warn people.
And then I just stopped going to therapy.
Yeah. No, but there are like really bad therapists and you just got to be careful with it. Like just because somebody is a therapist does not mean that they're a good one. Actually what you were saying about the drawing and the child therapist thing, I remember I went to one when I was I think 16. I only saw her a couple of times. I get her confused with another one I had around the same time period, so I can't really remember how many times I went to see her. But she had me play with buttons and I was 16.
I think I might have had to do that. Something about like a jar, and there was like buttons or like weird knickknacks in the jar. You had me playing with them at some point, and I was like, I am 15. I don't know, I can't remember exactly how old I was at the time, but I think it was around like transition year. So I was like 14, 15-ish. And I was just like, what is this? It's very creepy. And like, I am capable. Okay, maybe I don't always know exactly what I'm feeling, but I don't think everyone, you know, does. But I'm at least capable of verbalizing things. You know, if you're capable of verbalizing like what's going on, what your thought process is and all of this stuff, you shouldn't be playing with buttons and drawing pictures. Not unless like that's the way it works for you because you can't properly understand what's going on or like what you're thinking. Like there are certain times where that's useful, but not this case.
Yeah, I mean, like, fair enough, there would be 16-year-olds who would find that useful. But for me at the time, I had been going to therapy since I was 13. I went in there, walked in there, because every new therapist I saw, because I saw a lot, I'd be like, right, here's the rundown. Here's what I've done. I'm very clearly capable of, like, speaking, of verbalizing things. I've been in the system for years. Like, and the thing is, she did the stuff that really annoyed me, and I've had therapists, or like I did art therapy and stuff, and this was the same problem. But like, she had me pick a button that represented me and a button that represented these other people, and then she'd be like, oh, "So why did you pick this one? Did you pick it because this pattern?" And I was like, "I don't know. I just thought it was pretty, and you told me to play with the fucking thing, so I just picked one." Like, it's not that deep. I don't know. like the art therapy thing as well. I
Yeah.
remember that was when I was in the day hospital. It wasn't Clonmara, but they were connected to Clonmara. Like they have a day hospital thingy, and they had art therapy twice that I was there. I think I vaguely remember. And I don't like art. I can't draw, and it's not something I enjoy. So I remembered from school, like, oh, we did that sunset thing, so we just make a sunset to pass the time because I know how to do that. And then I was done with my sunset sky because it's 3 fucking colors, and everybody else was still drawing. So I was like, okay, well, I think I'd put in like black to be like a sea or something. So it's like, okay, well, I'm just gonna draw on a little boat on the sea because everybody else is still doing stuff and I don't want to sit here like a weirdo. And then he tried to like put all this stuff on me, like, oh yeah, is it because you're trying to be free on the ocean away from everybody? I was like, no, it was just like the only thing I could kind of draw. It's like, I know that's good for some people, but for me
that's the thing, like
not.
Yeah, like for some people, art is stressful. Like I like coloring. I won a paint by number set the other day, actually, which,
Ooh.
that is fine because paint by numbers or, like coloring books, the difficult part, for me at least, the difficult part is done for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, filling in the colors or like following the step-by-step thing. But like if someone was like, draw, I'd be like, but I can't do it perfectly. Like it would stress me out because I'm not a great artist, and it would stress me out that things aren't the way I envision them in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, this is not helpful. This is stressful.
Yeah, I actually feel that way about coloring books. They stress me out. I can't do it. I hate them. Like I really hate them. You get those like mindfulness for adults, relaxing coloring book, and I'm like, I hate this. I hate this. I hate this. I'm so annoyed. I don't know what colors to put where. Am I supposed to shade this bullshit? I hate this. So.
Yeah, I've never had one of those. There's actually one I've got saved on Book Depository. That's a anatomy coloring book, but I only have that saved because a friend has one and she's like, it's actually really handy for getting to know the muscle markers and stuff. I was like, great, might buy. But like, I'm not buying that because I need a coloring book. I'm buying it because it's actually useful for my course.
I'm sorry, I'm doing a face right now because I just remembered one of my books from Book Depository never got here. The other, I ordered 2 books. One of them got here. Where's the other book? I
pre-ordered a book and it was like coming out the end of November, and by the time I got back to the dorm after being home for Christmas in January, it had only just arrived. But 2 of them have arrived, so I have a feeling it got lost, so they sent another one and then they found the original one.
Oh, okay.
So I just was like stuck in Czech Republic with 2 quite heavy books. I just left one out in the hallway one day and it disappeared. So someone's got the 3rd book in a series. I hope they read the rest of the series.
I like it. I mean, like one of them was this book, which I got ages ago, and I ordered them at the same time. The other one was...
That's the thing about Book Depository. None of the books come together. I have a feeling they've got like warehouses all over the world and none of the books are like ever stored together because you always get them separately. They always come at different days as well.
It's annoying, but because I got the complete poetic works of Edgar Allan Poe because deep down inside I am still goth. I'm just not goth on the outside.
I love the neutral gothic makeup today. I was going to say that earlier.
Thank you. I was having fun with it. I finally got a good black lipstick. For people who are just listening, I'm wearing black lipstick and eyeliner.
But getting a good black lipstick is difficult.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not perfect. Like it's still, you can kind of see it's coming off here, which is kind of annoying me, but it's a better one and it doesn't feel dry. That's my requirement. But yeah, where's my Edgar Allan Poe Book Depository? Rude.
I've got a few things saved on there that I need, but they're like the prices are adding up and I'm like, do I really need textbooks? I mean, they're all online, but also I can't read things from online, so I probably do need the textbooks.
Possibly. Education is important.
Yeah. Overrated, man.
I don't know if you know this. For, in the junior cert English, the poetry section, you don't actually have to do specific poems or poets. You have to do like themes. So,
yeah, it's only for the leaving cert you have to do specific ones, which no one told me until the fucking leaving cert. It's the same with the damn book for English. You know the way you study like a book in first year, a book in second year, and a book in third year? Mm-hmm. All 3 of the books we studied were ones that were on the exam. But because we studied the one in third year, that was the one we studied for the exam. but I was really bad at it. I can't remember what one it was. I think it was To Kill a Mockingbird. I wasn't bad at it, like I was decent at it. But if it was Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime, I would have aced that goddamn exam. But they didn't tell me I could use Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime until after I had fucking finished the juniors there. And then they were like, oh, you know all 3 of those books that we studied for 3 years? Yeah, you could have used any of those in the exam. And I was like...
We only did one book, but I remember for the poetry, so we were doing all the, the regular shite, like you got your Seamus Heaney, whoever else. I don't think we did Sylvia Plath at that stage.
Oh, I love Plath.
But
it probably speaks a lot to me.
Yeah, about both of us, crazy bitches and Sylvia Plath. But I went ahead and I was like, oh, I can do whatever poetry I want. Fine, I'm going to do Edgar Allan Poe. And I did.
Yes! I love it.
I think I remember vaguely on the, I don't remember properly, but I do remember vaguely. I think I answered one of the questions about like his poem Ode to Science. I think it was a sonnet. I don't remember now. This was years ago. But yeah, I was like, fuck your poetry. I'm doing my own. I'm too goth for Seamus Heaney.
Yeah. I remember I only ever had 2 therapists. I remember the second one I was going to. I eventually stopped going and my excuse was I'm busy because of the leaving cert. Which, like, fair. I mean, at least in my instance, I don't think I needed her anymore. I think the problem I was having was probably a little bit me and a lot teenage hormones, and I grew out of it as I grew into those hormones. But like, to be fair, I don't know, I feel like those therapists like not let go too easily, but didn't like make sure that you were okay. They were just like, yeah, okay, bye. You don't want me anymore? Fine, I don't want you anymore. And I'm like, yeah, but if I was someone who actually needed help, that's not really a safe, mindset to have of just like, bye-bye, good luck.
Yeah.
Figuring it out by yourself.
Yeah.
Like, obviously they should let you go if they're not working for you, but I don't know. It just always seemed kind of weird to me that everyone was just like, okay, bye. I mean, maybe it's because I was fine, but I don't know.
Or it could just be they were kind of crappy.
My second one, literally, like the second therapist I had was like all like holistic and like all of this stuff, and she like burned incense all the time, which in the beginning was fine. We'd do like 10 minutes of meditation to like begin, and then the rest of the hour, we'd like chat or whatever. But the longer I was there, the less like I don't know, I was just kind of awkward around her. I didn't like telling her things, so I just like voluntarily signed up for longer and longer meditation sessions until I was paying like €60 a week for an hour-long meditation with a psychologist, because I didn't want to talk about things, and she just let that go on. And also, like, when I did talk about things like with my family and stuff, she was just like, okay, so what I want you to do is like, when you go home, I want you to go to your mom and tell her that this is how you feel. And I'm like, you do realize I started this sentence by saying my mother easily feels attacked when I say I feel this way because of something you said or you did. She feels like I'm putting blame on her. So sitting her down and say, like, spewing out everything I feel because of the way she's done something is gonna make her go off at me. Are you trying to make her go off? Like, you know what I mean? It was like, I literally like spell everything out for her about what's not gonna work, and then she told me to do everything in that order, and I'm like, are you listening?
Like a dumb bitch. She sounded a little bit like a dumb bitch. Maybe she was stoned for your session, and that's why she didn't know what to tell you. But like,
I'm thinking about going back to therapy lately, just because
not to her.
I feel like everyone needs a little therapy. Also, one of my friends was talking about their therapist recently, and they're great because they're like younger, so they're around the same age as her, and she like feels confident talking to them about like loads of different things, and like even and I'm just like, that's what I need, because I never fully felt comfortable talking to either of them. So I don't feel like I ever dealt with many of my issues. I just learned to live with them, or I outgrew them, or I moved. But like, it was just certain things that I'm like, this doesn't apply. I've learned to live with that, and I don't live there anymore, so those people don't bother me. Like, it's just like, That's not a great mindset to
Yeah.
have with your issues. And I'm like, I just need someone I could talk to about things. Maybe I'm fine. Maybe they'll tell me I'm fine. But maybe they'll also be like, okay, maybe you should like actually deal with that instead of just living with it.
I mean, they're probably going to tell you that. Like, let's be real. They're not going to say, yeah, just live with that.
I'm
That's
perfect. What are you talking about? I'm perfect. Everything's fine.
Of course, yeah, sure. I just remembered though, as well, because you were saying like you would meditate. I had this fucking therapist. I don't remember if this was the button lady or somebody else. It was around that time period. But she she's such a fucking bitch. Sorry. I would like because I was really okay. So I could tell you everything that was going on, but at this stage of my life I was very, very guarded, and I didn't like talking about my feelings because I didn't want to like get emotional, and I wasn't good at instigating things. Like I'm still kind of like that. Like I need to be pushed to talk about something. Like if I need to go through like trauma stuff, I can't bring it up myself. Like I need to be kind of guided in the right direction. And she outright said, because like I wouldn't be able to say much and she didn't know what to do. So she was like, okay, well, we're just going to sit here in silence until you figure out what you want to talk about. And we did this for like at least 2 sessions that I remember. And we would sit there in silence with her fucking clock ticking. I'm like, what am I doing here? This is useless. I don't think this was the button lady, but it might have been.
The button lady and the silence lady. Were they the same lady or different ladies?
Who knows? But they were both shite. So
Yeah. It's kind of funny because when the whole reason I originally started going to therapy was because I don't know, I just get like randomly upset sometimes and like start crying in my room. It was probably worse than that. I really can't remember. It was years ago. Like how bad it was. I presume it was kind of bad because my mom took me to the doctor. And the doctor was like, yeah, she might have dysthymia or I can't even remember. I never like officially got diagnosed with anything because obviously she's a GP, not a psychologist, so she couldn't diagnose me. And then the other two, like, useless. But yeah, when I went to the doctor, she was like, okay, she might have this. She probably should talk to someone. Here's this like child psychologist or child psychotherapist. I can't remember what he was. But he was like, here's someone, but he only deals with people under the age of 16. So you've got to get her in now, kind of thing, to see him. Or she gave us the website where like all the listed like psychiatrists in our area, like everyone who's got a license is like listed, and that's where we found the other two. She's like, or you can go to this person. I can't remember why we didn't go to that guy. I think part of the reason might have been because he was a guy, so I was like, I'm not going to feel comfortable talking to him. Mm-hmm. But I think he was also some other kind of, I think he might have been a psychiatrist. Mm-hmm. And the doctor was like, you'd be better going to a therapist first and then going to him, or something like that. Mm-hmm. But now I'm like slightly wondering, I'm like, would things have worked out better if I had just sucked up that he was a man and gone to him instead? I don't know, because at least he was like actually recommended as opposed to like just a name on a website that I can't remember why I chose.
I mean, okay, well there's that like he was listed and blah blah blah, but if you knew you weren't going to feel comfortable, and you got to like trust yourself in that sometimes, because you would have gone in there and be like, I am uncomfortable. Like that's just
yeah, but at least but he only saw people under a certain age, so I'm slightly like, maybe I should have at least like gone to see him while I fit into that bracket. Mm-hmm. And like seen what was different about him compared to like the other people that they were like, go and see them. I don't know, I can't remember. I don't know. It's just a weird couple of years there.
You know what though? I find apparently I'm an outlier in this, and I'm not sure why, but I prefer male therapists. Like I've had female therapists, but I just feel like this is going to come across so sexist, but it is just my experience with therapists and stuff. The female ones that I've had kind of tend to try and empathize and like, be comforting and be my friend in a way. I'm like, I don't want that. I want this to be very professional. I need like a cold, unemotional, unempathetic person to just sit there and like talk me through things. And like, as well as that, oh my God, if a therapist ever like shows me any kind of sympathy, I'm gone. I never go back. I can't cope with it. I'm like, no, I don't want your sympathy. I don't, we're talking about trauma here. I just need to get through the flashbacks, please.
Yeah, you don't need someone there to be like patting you on the head, like, there. You need someone to listen and then be like, okay, here's what you need to do.
Oh my God.
Not like wrap an arm around you and be like, it's going to be okay, honey.
Yeah, recently I had a therapist cry.
That's
Right?
fun.
Then no, that was
That's not concerning at all.
no,
No,
it was terrible. It was and like I didn't want to go back. And
because
because like
that's the thing. It makes you feel bad that you've told them, you've hurt them in some way, or whatever. Like I feel like that changes your dynamic from like them being the one professional is like supposed to know everything to like you being like, what? That seems very unprofessional.
Yeah, the thing was like I to this day I hate crying in therapy. I used to completely like stop myself. Like I would be like, no, I'm not going to do it. I would feel it in the back of my head and I would go silent because I knew if I started talking, there's only so much you can do when you need to cry.
Yeah.
And then I've kind of been trying to get over that. I still fucking hate it, but like I couldn't stop it because I was talking. I was like, I'm not going to go silent. I'm going to talk. And then I started crying and then she started crying. I'm like, no. And then I didn't go back for ages.
That is like legitimately the worst thing.
Yeah. Thing is, she's lovely. She's lovely.
I mean, like, that's so bad.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. That just seems like so unprofessional.
Yeah, but now
like,
I can
maybe
say,
you don't. I was just gonna say, maybe you don't need to be like a stone wall with your patients, but don't cry at their thing.
I want a stone wall, please. Give me a stone wall.
I mean, obviously you do, but I'm saying like,
Yeah.
the baseline of need is not a stone wall. You can be kinder, you can be more empathetic, but don't be so empathetic that you're putting your grief onto them because of their grief, or something like that. Like, that's horrible.
But now I can say that I've made a therapist cry. So
yeah, my only claim to fame with ruining a professional was taking a ski instructor out during ski lessons. It's the only time I've ever ruined a professional.
Did you break him?
No, I just dragged her down a hill with me.
Did I just assume that the ski instructor was male?
Well, my brother's ski instructor was male, mine was female.
Maybe you've told me the story and that's why I'm getting confused, or I need to check my biases. Either way.
To be fair, until you said I prefer male therapists, I hadn't, because no one I know has male therapists. So my bias is that therapists are female. Obviously not because I know of one was recommended to me. You've just said that. But like automatically if someone's like, I'm seeing a therapist, I presume they're female. I need to work on that.
We got some things we got to work on, including our mental health. I mean, I can say as of right now, I'm doing all right. I'm working on myself and I haven't had any, no, that's a lie. I was going to say I haven't had any recent breakdowns, but like, I'm coping.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes breakdowns are breakthroughs. I don't know if that's true. Just trying to be motivational here.
Put it on a poster.
You're doing great, sweetie.
It's amazing. I can't cope with inspirational stuff. That's the other thing. Like people in the mental health circles, they love that inspirational stuff. And I'm like, I think it's like I think I might have talked to you about this. Like I was talking to somebody and kind of worked it out that my hating of anything motivational or inspirational or like positive and stuff possibly stems from the fact that my life growing up was just so negative that I had to accept that was just the way the world was, and anything positive or inspirational seems inherently fake to me. So it could be my own issues, but I still just don't like inspirational stuff. That's,
and if it doesn't work for you, then there's no point in using it anyway.
It makes me cringe. I can't help it. I'm just like,
I mean, there are a lot of motivational things that make me cringe. Usually, actually, like the motivational thing, like speeches or phrases or whatever that I find actually motivational are like ones I take from fictional characters giving like war speeches in books, stuff like that.
That's amazing.
Like they're not like because I do feel like a lot of the ones that are like out there, like general motivational sayings or whatever, are very like phony and fake and overly like sweet kind of things. I can't handle them. Whereas like I feel like the ones in books a lot of the time are a lot more realistic, because they're like, we might not do this, but we're gonna try anyway. We're gonna die trying, like all of this stuff. And I'm like, that more realistic. I might fail, but at least I tried.
Yeah, I guess maybe that's because like motivational quotes, they just come from like a blank, like they're a lot of the time they're just churned out for like, hey, let's do this inspirational post for Instagram, whatever. There's no thought process behind it. There's no situation you're thinking about. So it's just a very blanket statement that means nothing. Whereas in books, it's like related to a situation that is happening. It's like it has to fit. It has to be realistic in some way. Like, hey, we might get decapitated by this mutant dragon demon, but you know, we're gonna do our damned best because we don't have another fucking choice and we'd all rather live.
Yeah, like there's one I keep thinking of where one of the characters in this book is immortal. He's already been alive for like 300 years. And one of his like mortal friends is like, you know, sitting at the bedside of a friend who's dying. And they're like, how do you deal with this? Because everyone you've ever loved is grown old and died. And like, you know, this is the first person I know who's dying. And I think he's my best friend. He's dying. Like, how do you bear this? How do you deal with it? How have you done it for 300 years and are still standing? And he's just like, you take what is unbearable and you bear it. That's all. I can't stop my friends from growing old. I can't stop them from dying. I just have to learn how to live through it, kind of thing. I don't know. I was like, when I read that, I was like, that's what I needed to hear.
See, that wouldn't make
this
sense.
Does not apply to me. I'm not immortal, but this is what I need to hear.
Yeah, but see, that wouldn't make sense. And I feel like that's how I've gotten through a lot of things in life. I mean, you know, a lot of my history and things. So it's just like, and because I've always been very high functioning and always, you know, gotten through things. I've never stopped, clearly, because I'm right here. So it's like, I just do it. Like, and I've had even people say to me, like therapists and stuff, even like, you've gotten through all this, you're so strong. I'm like, I'm not strong, I just did it. Like, I just got through it.
Yeah, like what was the only other option? Like giving up? Like, I don't know.
I like that quote though. You take what is unbearable and you bear it. See, that's not, these are inspirational quotes I can get on board with.
Yeah, like it's not like, oh, you know, you gotta work through, you gotta find the positive, you got it. Because a lot of times, like, there isn't a positive in a situation. A situation sucks. It is crap. The only positive is if it didn't happen, and thinking that way is not helpful whatsoever. Sometimes the only like positive thing is that you bore it in the moment and you got through it, and you can, you know, work on whatever issues you have because of it later on, because you got through it. Like, that's the only thing you can do in a moment is get through something. I just think that's way more realistic than like, gotta be positive, something good came out of this. I'm like, no it didn't. Horrible. I survived. It's the only good thing that came out of this.
You know what, I feel like that might be a good note to end on, because this in itself was unintentionally quite inspirational in a non-sickening way. If I approve it, that means it's good, clearly.
Yeah.
Well, do you have any final points on mental health, psychology, brains, skull shapes that you want to talk about before we go?
Never be afraid to ask for help. Even if you haven't, even if you don't feel like you've been through things or you're struggling at the moment, you just feel like you need someone to talk to. That's okay. You don't have to have like a lifetime of trauma to need help with things. Sometimes you're just born with a fucked up brain. Mm-hmm. Or sometimes you're just having a bad time because lockdown sucks. I don't know. But don't be afraid to ask for help, whether, you know, you've got bad things going on or you don't have bad things going on. Everyone needs a little help sometimes.
Mm-hmm. What I would say is the way that you feel is always valid. Your feelings and emotions about a situation, and maybe not always your thoughts, but your feelings are valid. And you don't have to, like what you said, you don't have to go through a lifetime of trauma to feel bad. You're allowed to feel bad. So never feel like you haven't been through enough. Always feel like you're allowed to express your emotions. Nobody's going to judge you for that. If you go to a therapist and they judge you for that, fire that fucking therapist and never speak to them again.
Yes.
And then make sure you leave them a terrible review. But also, on a slightly more, what may come across as harsh, but I mean it from a very loving place. Although your feelings are always valid, your behaviors are not always valid. You are responsible for changing negative behaviors that you may have. So it is up to you to do that. And you can do that. It's not an impossibility to change all your bad habits and your ways of acting about things, because I've done it for a lot of things and a lot of other people have done it too.
On that note, someone said this. It's probably a very common saying now, but someone said it and it meant a lot to me because sometimes I do feel guilty about this. You are not responsible for the first thought that comes into your head when you see someone or you see something happening. Society is responsible for the first thought that comes into your head, but you are responsible for the second, and you are responsible for the words that come out of your mouth because of those thoughts. So don't feel bad about the first thought that comes into your head when you see someone or you see something, but think about why you have that thought and work on maybe changing it. Don't just blame society and then go on to say that thought out loud, because that's just perpetuating other people's bad thoughts.
I like that.
I don't know if that was relevant, but it seemed relevant.
That was very relevant. I like that a lot, and I think it's a very good message to end on. Well, thank you all so much for listening to this slightly weird, but I think one of our better episodes of the Coffee and Ketchup podcast. If you are listening,
I found it therapeutic.
Therapy time. Please let it be known I am not a licensed therapist. Thank you very much. But sometimes that doesn't mean anything, even if you are. So yes, if you are listening to this on YouTube, then please subscribe to us. You can turn on notifications and leave us a nice comment. If you're listening on any other streaming service, then please follow us if that option is available. And you can also check out the CACU podcast Twitter and Instagram. And finally, let's take a break so people stop hearing this as a droning noise. We're taking a break so people take in what I'm going to say. Psychology. You can follow our personal social medias. I'm Bangelina Scott everywhere, including YouTube. Megan is Megan McGrath on YouTube, and Megan_MCG or on Instagram and Twitter. But if you want to follow her academic Twitter, she's Megan of Bones, because she studies bones.
Bones. Yep.
Thank you all so much for listening. We love you.
Thank
Have
you.
a beautiful week, fortnight, day, hour, whatever. And talk to you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.